peoples, what's happening? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well. Really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News! Of course, Chelsea News is the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said about the club, giving you my opinion on it, more importantly asking for yours. Sammy Mockbell has written about Ruben Amarin, a manager Chelsea have a long-standing interest in, and as the pressure heats up on Mauricio Pochettino, could they be lining up a replacement? Also, Nazarkin Seller writes about Chelsea hiring another vibes man who helps the collective psychology of teams. We've done that before, but maybe this time it will work. Look, we all are disappointed with the cup final and maybe a bottling thing going on. A young team needs time to develop. Maybe some guy can get inside their brains and make them winners. Settle in, get comfortable. I want to thank you for joining me today here on Football Therapy. You're welcome to join the OG GOAT gang by subscribing to this channel, Football Therapy. If you choose to do so, I recommend you hit the bell so you get notified when I upload. And in the meantime, I will thank you for liking this video. It does support me as a content creator. And let's jump in to Nazarkin Seller's article on the Evening Standard talking about this new hire and whether it's actually going to help Chelsea out or not. Chelsea have recruited Owen Eastwood to lead a project on history and identity, which will encompass the entire club. The New Zealander has been hired by sporting directors Stuart and Winstanley as part of a wide-ranging project to improve the culture at Stamford Bridge and Cobham by weaving in elements of the club's history. Off the bat, this does seem like a really good idea. I did a video yesterday when I speak at length about Chelsea's long-standing problems, a lot of it talking about winning culture and what it means to be Chelsea and us kind of just losing the fabric of being winners. Now off the bat is some random guy from New Zealand going to instill what it means to be Chelsea and a bunch of new talented youngsters from around different parts of the world. Maybe so! Let's find out. In an interview with the Training Ground Guru in 2022, Eastwood said this, quote, "My specialism is around building an optimal environment for people to compete from." That sounds good. Eastwood previously worked closely with Chelsea's director of performance, Bryce Kavanagh, in the England national team setup. Kavanagh was head of performance as Eastwood worked on Gareth Southgate's England between 2016 and 2022. And off the bat, that's sending off positive alarms in our head. Granted, England have not won the Euros or World Cup since, but we got to the semi-final and final and we were like winning penalty shootouts. Things that England generally didn't do. Part of his work at the Football Association under the respected duo Dan Ashworth and Dave Redden was to set up the player legacy numbers that are now given to England International. Players are given caps, identity cards, and have their numbers stitched into their shirts. Nice. The numbers are widely popular among the players, and the environment around the England team has improved radically in Southgate's tenure. God, don't I know it. Eastwood most recently worked with the 2023 European Ryder Cup golf team, as well as the South African rugby team between 2010 and 2019. The self-styled, quote, performance coach is inspired by Maori culture from his native New Zealand and wrote his book Belonging. Aspects of Owen's unique approach include finding your identity story, defining a shared purpose, visioning future success, sharing ownership with others, understanding the, quote, silent dance that plays out in groups, setting the conditions to unleash talent, and converting our diversity into a competitive advantage. Bro, I know that sounds like a lot of jumbly stuff, but I'm gonna be honest, I really like it, I dig it, and I'll tell you why. If you watch this channel on Football Therapy, you know me, I think there is a sort of silent dance with football matches themselves, let alone teams and training grounds. People play psychological roles that they don't even know they're playing. They fall into it. Like, you can be really, really talented, really, really athletic, but you still sort of fall into this role, and before you know it, you're a Spursy kind of guy, a player, team. Culture is massive. Psychological conditioning is massive. Largely unconscious. Stuff like you don't know what's happening under the surface. And if there's a guy that can come in and wriggle into your brains and say, guys, come on, you've fallen into being like not big players here. Let's, cultivate and develop ways of becoming winners again. And, Stuart and Winstanley want to do that by re-stitching him into the winning culture and fabric of Chelsea Football Club's history. Then I'm all for it. Now, of course, it would be easier to have a 31-year-old John Terry in the dressing room, checking Lampard or whatever to show standards, and, the kind of stuff Eden Hazard got, and that generation. But sadly, that's not available. Chelsea have cleaned the deck, we've started again and done a hard reset, so to bring someone in and kind of re-stitch the culture of Chelsea to this current crop, but also utilise his special skills to make sure they become winners again, in theory, it sounds great. And to be honest, I commend it. It's better than doing nothing, Of course, we had that other guy that we brought in who was like a winning coach or something like that, but he sort of was consulted for a week. I forget his name, apologies. But he didn't last / didn't really do anything. But maybe, and hopefully, touch wood, this hire does positive stuff for Chelsea. Let me know what you think. Comment down below on the story, and let's move on and jump into the Mail Sport to see what they're saying about Pochettino and Ruben Amarin. Chelsea head coach Pochettino's long-term position as head coach is uncertain, with the qualification for European football emerging as a crucial factor in determining the Argentine's future. Uh-oh. The pressure is mounting on the 51-year-old following his team's Carabao Cup final loss to Liverpool at Wembley. Pochettino did sign a 2-year contract at Chelsea with an option of a 3rd year. However, there are now significant doubts over whether Chelsea are prepared to continue the partnership heading into the season climax. I think it's saying in the summer he'd be looked at being replaced rather than now. Also, I like how we gave him a 2+1 deal. Sensible. What did we give Potter? Many years, and we learned from that. So it's good to see they're learning, at least. There was not a knee-jerk reaction to the loss at Wembley, despite the disappointment, particularly after the Anfield side ended the game with a host of academy players on the field. There are actually other reports suggesting there is a great deal of embarrassment with the Chelsea hierarchy, the ownership of how the game panned out, and felt like they should have won it and not lost it. And if you watch me as a content creator, and probably all the other Chelsea content creators out there, you'll know there was a sense of disappointment and probably embarrassment across everyone that, supports Chelsea. The recent upturn in results prior to Sunday's loss, which saw the club pick up 9 points from a possible 12, including a draw at Manchester City, had provided reasons for optimism. But Pochettino now faces a crucial run of matches that are likely to determine his long-term future at Stamford Bridge, with club officials desperate to play in Europe next season. Well, The Athletic have contested that and say Chelsea would rather not play in Europe next season, but oh well, let's read on. Given their indifferent league form, the FA Cup may provide Pochettino with his best route into UEFA competition next season. Of course, that gets you into the Europa League. Chelsea face Leeds in the 5th round on Wednesday night. Failure to progress would merely compound the pressure on former Tottenham head coach. Blues do want to make it through the season and to the end of the season before reviewing the management role. Intriguingly, sources close to Chelsea ownership have indicated the club have already started looking at potential candidates to replace Pochettino should they part ways. Chelsea have a long-standing interest in Ruben Amarin at Sporting Lisbon, but the Portuguese is expected to have high-profile options who could actually offer him European football next season. Indeed, there is a doubt inside European football circles over the pull Chelsea will have to appoint a top manager given their problems in the event of Pochettino leaving. Yeah, I know, even if Chelsea had the pull of, but we're an exciting project, it's Chelsea, you've got so many young talented players to play from, and we're patient. That's not really sort of flying anymore, because Chelsea have sacked Tuchel, Potter, and it would be Pochettino after an exhaustive interview process, so no manager would feel safe. Maybe the pull is waning. For now though, Chelsea have no immediate plans to part with Pochettino mid-season, but a drop-off in results could yet spark a rethink. Chelsea had hoped victory at Wembley would have represented a tangible marker of improvement under Pochettino. It's understood the connection between the coach and supporters will be a factor in the planned summer review. Yeesh. Pochettino's relationship with the Club American owners was thrust into the limelight over the weekend when it looks like Pochettino was snubbing Todd Bowley for a handshake. And the article goes on, I actually think he grabbed his hand with his left hand. I was going to talk about it, but it's a bit of a nothing story. I think Pochettino does have respect for both owners. He probably feels the pressure now. It is tricky, right? Let's talk about Ruben Amarin first before we talk about Pochettino and whether he could be sacked. Amarin's an exciting young coach. He's still 39, so he's not yet in his 40s. He's very very much a young coach. He looks like he's a pretty stern guy. He played at a decent level. I think he played in midfield for Sporting. Didn't make that many caps for him. I think he went on loan a little bit. But, you know, he played a little bit at a high level in Europe. He's still young, so he's connected to the sort of modern age of young footballer. If you take a look at the Liga NOS table now for some context, his Sporting team is currently in second place of top spot Benfica, but he does have a game in hand, and should he win that, he will go 1 point clear at the top of the table. Seems to be a good title race there. Intriguingly, though he's branded as a relatively pragmatic manager, they have the highest goals scored in the league with 63. Not the best defensive record, conceded 24, but he's got the joint top goal difference with Benfica, both at 41. So those sensible and pragmatic, still the entertainers of the Portuguese league over there. I quite like the idea of Ruben Amarin. I've sort of spoken about it a little bit lately. To be honest, I don't know what other options there are. People say Roberto De Zerbi, and loads of clubs are going to want him, and is he even that guy? Yes, this Swallow team was exciting and, you know, done well at times at Brighton, got off the boil as well. It's tricky though, but let's put a pin in manager talk for a moment and think, should Pochettino be sacked? Because this is something I've spoken about at length. I still maintain, in theory, he's like a really appropriate manager for this Chelsea project. In bringing in like an Amarin, is he the guy to like, you know, nurture all the multiple children? I'm not so sure. And the truth is, can we just be realistic for a moment? Had Conor Gallagher scored one of those chances in the cup final, and this is not digging him out, I think he was excellent in the final, and it shouldn't be up to him to be Eden Hazard. He's not that kind of player. So should he have scored one of those goals, the headlines would be different. It wouldn't have been, you know, Klopp's kids against the billion-pound blue bottlers, because ultimately, if you look at the stats, Chelsea's team was still younger than that Liverpool team who won at the end of the game. So it would be like, you know, Pochettino's young, dysfunctional team that was thrown amongst him, that's given to him, that he had to deal with. He somehow moulded them into cup winners against Jurgen Klopp's formidable, long-built Liverpool. The head, you know, literally in a millimetre's difference from kicking a ball, the narrative would have changed massively. And then they'll be like, look at all these wins of Chelsea have got. They went to the Etihad and nearly took 3 points, but still came away with a draw. You know, they beat Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool at Wembley. It doesn't matter that they had loads of injuries. They're still 10 places above us in the Premier League table. I'm actually reiterating and regurgitating a little bit that was said on the Football Weekly podcast of The Guardian. They said stuff like, look, last season Chelsea finished, 12th? Say where Crystal Palace finishes. If it was Crystal Palace in the final, the narrative would be completely different. But they need to recognise they're still thinking about Chelsea of 10 years ago. Chelsea aren't great at the moment. They show moments, but they're not a good team right now. That's not saying we won't be a good team. We're not. So that, you know, everyone wants to think, well, Chelsea should be winning Champions Leagues. It's not the truth. You know, we need to complete rebuild. So whether this hire of this guy who's rebuilding the mentality, or maybe indeed we do need a new coach eventually, we'll see, and we'll hopefully get there. But Pochettino should be evaluated at the end of the season, especially since the players are still playing for him and there's a togetherness there. You don't want to like mess that up. I mean, you can say that he's not the guy long term when you do his assessment, but while the team's still together, you do not want to jeopardise that. Anyway, I want to put it out to you guys. Let me know what you think. Please do comment down below. I'll be very keen to learn your thoughts, feelings and emotions on these stories I've spoken about today. Once again, I'll thank you for liking the video if you have done, and you are welcome to subscribe if you want to. And I hope to see you guys back here very, very soon. Take care of yourselves. Peace.